going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well this Sunday evening. Obviously it's bittersweet today. Unfortunately, after a 31-30 loss to Miami last night. But definitely today we want to kind of discuss it a little bit, kind of, I guess, break it down a little bit. What went wrong? Where hopefully some positives we could take out of this, moving towards continuing through the second half of the season. We have Michael and then myself, Lane Smith here, and then our other partner Macon will be joining us here in 1 second. He was having some technical difficulties, but he'll be with us here in 1 second. But it kind of works out perfectly though, because our buddy Michael here was actually able to go to the Miami game. So I guess, Michael, we'll kind of start off hearing a little bit in terms of how the trip went overall for you. What was your experience like? Just how was it being there in person and being in Hard Rock Stadium? And I guess maybe first of all, was that your first time to Hard Rock or to a Miami game?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. First time there. Yeah, it was cool. When we first got there, we were outside the stadium. We got a pretty good parking spot, and when we were outside, we didn't see like one State fan, so I was kind of worried going in. But once we got in, there was a decent amount, more than I was expecting. So that was good to see. And I sent some pictures out, and at kickoff, the stadium was not even. It was maybe half full, but the way they have it, it's enclosed on all four sides and partially covered on the top. It's just the field area is kind of uncovered. So it got, Miami came out pretty fast, and it got pretty loud in there, louder than what I was expecting. And so for the actual game, obviously it's disappointing. Any loss is going to be disappointing.
Yeah.
But I don't think we played terrible. Like the Mississippi State game, that was just bad. We were just a bad football team on that day. I don't think we played bad yesterday. I think, we just a couple missed opportunities here and there, a couple bounces go our way, and we come out of that game with a victory.
Yeah. No, it definitely wasn't the same story as Mississippi State for sure. We definitely battled. Now, the one thing for sure is it was definitely frustrating to me because it felt like that, again, it just didn't seem like we were 100% there mentally in all aspects, but, I always say that, because, people all the time, you hear people say, well, I wish we would have had another shot against Mississippi State, or I wish we would have won, or, I wish this, I wish that.
Yeah.
Hey, at the end of the day, if we do at the end of the season are ACC champions, which is, by the way, for all State fans, again, keep in mind, that is still that's still an absolute possibility. Absolute possibility. It's honestly, it still really comes down to that Wake Forest game for me. Now, obviously, we still have to take it one game at a time. We can't lose, but I think that again, if we can pull out a win against Wake Forest, that still puts us in absolutely the driver's seat to win the Atlantic Division. So, but again, at the end of the day, if it takes us losing to Miami, if it takes us losing to Mississippi State to hold the trophy at the end of the season, then so be it. It is what it is. Again, we're not here to win national championships. We're not here to be in the top 10. We're here to win the ACC championship, period, one way or another. So, so that's pretty much my initial thoughts on it.
I'm hoping we kind of respond the way we did against Mississippi State. Like I said, we played bad against Mississippi State, and then we came back and won 4 games in a row, right?
Right.
And so I'm kind of hoping the team has a similar response here.
Yeah. So Macon, I know you're joining in, my man, so I want to kind of hear your initial thoughts on the game yesterday as well.
Man, I was tell you what, man, I was disappointed when I saw that. I was watching the game. I thought, watching the team somewhat fight. Let me start with the positive. I thought they really play with a lot of heart. A lot of times, I thought that's a team that could have folded. That in past, the team would have folded pretty early, and they didn't. And that is the kind of mentality that's going to carry us through the whole season. So that leadership you see on the team it translates to the field. I thought, especially when we went up halftime, that drive before halftime was huge mentally for the team.
Yeah.
And then you just hate it because kind of right out of halftime, Miami takes another deep shot, and kind of squanders that.
Yeah.
But then they're still driving back. And I thought we played a bad game for the most part, and we had to do like a fake punt to even get back into a chance to score again. Like we were kind of pulling it out. I think we realized they were playing better than us that night, and we were trying to pull what we needed to get the win out, which they executed a lot of times and it worked. But when you look at the stats, both teams threw the ball a lot. NC State was the only team that had over 100 yards in rushing. Miami, I think, had like 80 or 90 some.
Yeah.
And
it was about even.
To me, I think the biggest thing fans are saying, this game was lost because of Devin Carter. No, it's not.
No,
there were some critical moments that he has to learn from those and step up, and he has to make those plays. So I get where they're coming from, because at the end of the day, if he had made those catches, who knows what would have happened. I think both those plays, I remember him catching his balls. He would have gone for a lot more yards.
Yeah. He was open.
So I get that, and there's some accountability there on him.
Yes, I believe.
But to me, this game was won and lost because if I had to pick a unit, it's the secondary.
Yeah.
Because they were taking deep shot after deep shot against State, and it was just, first drive of the first half, they just chuck it downfield for a touchdown, and our guy just, I don't know. I don't know what the State coaches are going to see on that. Talk about in the press conference what film they saw, but
yeah,
it was blown covers a second. The first play coming at halftime, they're going to take deep shots, and that was their whole offense. That was why they were able to drive down the field and score, because of these deep shots, and we were just not doing well. So to me, I think it was more the secondary's problem this week. They had although we put up 400 yards of offense against Miami, they put up about 400 yards against us. So and I think it was it 300 or 400 for passing? It's 300 or so, right?
So Van Dyke threw 25 of 33 for 325 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah.
So again, because the biggest disappointment, honestly, for me, and honestly, is that obviously Van Dyke called out NC State's defense earlier this week and said, they're not gonna be able to stop us. And honestly, for me, if you would ask me before the game, I would have said, "Oh, there's no way we're going to lose this game." Mostly because of that statement. Because you're going to challenge us? Oh, watch this. Well,
yeah, that's what I told you. I was like, the line should have shifted like another 2 or 3 points in our favor, in my opinion, after that comment.
yeah, right. So for him, and then for him to do that, basically not be able to stop him. Again, it was very disappointing. And again, just blown coverages. Again, it wasn't necessarily a matter of, again, it wasn't an issue of effort. It wasn't an issue of, it was just
he was mental.
Mistakes.
It was just mental.
Mistakes. Yeah, exactly. So that's why, like, any State fan saying, "Oh my God," we're right back to square one. We're not a good team.
Yeah, that last touchdown, that last touchdown, when he threw it kind of right up the gut on us, and it was the last touchdown they had to take the lead, and I remember it was a miscommunication between the linebackers, because I remember specifically seeing the replay, and you saw. Like Drake Thomas wasn't, I don't know if it was him or if it was Jalen Scott, but I think it was Jalen Scott who took the wrong read or bid on something he shouldn't have and was not staying and doing his job, essentially what it looked like. And I remember the pass zipped through, and you see the replay, Drake Thomas is like, God, like come on, what are we doing? Yeah. So it was like, it to me, I think it was more on the secondary linebackers and the linebackers and the DBs than it was more so on Devin Carter. He had. Did he have? How many targets did he have? Like, did he have 3 or 2? And he just dropped.
I think he had 3.
At least 3.
I think he had 3 and dropped 2.
Okay. The only thing with him is he has shown that he has a issue of being slightly inconsistent. So he has to be able, and it's not like they're just tough catches to some degree. They're like hitting him in square in the hands, and the defender's like 3 yards off of him. So
he makes the tough ones. The overtime catch against Clemson, and then
to me, that's all mental. Yeah, that's all mental.
Yeah.
Well, in like the drop, which at the end of the game, where just like you were saying, Macon. I mean, if he would have caught that ball, he would have gone easily into field goal range for
Yeah.
Chris Dunn.
Oh yeah.
Easily.
Mm.
And again, that was just a mistake that you see all the time, which is you're thinking about the run before the catch.
Right.
And that's exactly what that was. He was thinking about turning his head around and running upfield before he actually caught the ball. And so again, but he's going to bounce back off of that again. I mean, especially like Tanner Engel and Devin Carter going publicly on Twitter, basically saying, "Listen, like we I blew it. We need to play better." And but because again, Devin Carter, you've seen it. You've seen the potential there. You've seen what he can do, and then with this team, especially with the leadership that they have shown so far this season, that I mean they're going to be like, "Hey, Devin, like." It's a new game. We need you this season. Like, you're a key part of this offense. And so the last thing that we need you to do is take 2 drops and let that affect your season. Just, from that, because in the day we still have a lot to play for. We can go undefeated at home. We can win ACC, division title, maybe a conference title. Like, everything's still on the table here. So
yeah. I think that to me, though, with Devin, the one thing, and I'll drop about Devin because again, he's not the reason we lost the game, but he does obviously because he started to have a track record where he's inconsistent as far as now. There's other players who are too, and you just don't see it. Like there's linemen who probably are inconsistent, like Devin's been, and you just don't see it because they're not the ones making the big catches or dropping the big plays. But for Devin, he does have it more so than the other receivers. He's just not. Like he's really on sometimes and he's really not sometimes. And I don't really see there being like an in between. So he's got to work on that. And you're right, it's mental. But to your point, Leighton, what you just said about everything being in front of us, the main thing is that this is if you're going to lose a game, which I know I predicted at the beginning to see this is the game we would lose.
Yeah.
I think it'd be tough going 2 road wins back to back against then a Miami team that was supposed to be like a top 10 team. And again, they're the same players. They just don't have the quarterback they did. And they have like the running back's injured. But I've talked to some friends like who are Carolina fans, and they said they thought Knighton was the better running back than Harris. He was the more athletic, explosive one. So they're like, it might actually help Miami but he didn't run over 100 yards. So it was more secondary. But the whole point is, we lost to a coastal division team. So the loss was not in our division. And then Clemson also lost. So at the top of the Atlantic, nothing changed, in my opinion. It's still Wake Forest at 1. It's still us at 2, and then Clemson at 3. Syracuse winning was good for them. Florida State winning was good for them. I think that makes it interesting more towards the bottom. It tightened things up more towards the middle, like particularly for Clemson. Like if Clemson loses again, then it allows Florida State or Louisville or those teams to maybe step up ahead of them. But for us, I don't think it changes anything, like you said. No. And that's a lot of it's because Clemson lost too.
Yeah, that helped a lot.
well, and especially too because I mean, you expect more than likely. There's again, just basically the only thing it really loses is that room for error. I mean, because basically now we've made the error. So now we got to take this and we can't fall off again. Like, we need to keep going. But again, I mean, the rest of this, season schedule plays off, not necessarily nicely, but just, it's not like you're looking at any of them besides obviously the Wake Forest game going, I'm nervous about that game. I mean, they're all winnable for sure if we play the way we're supposed to play. But again, just like you said, again, we lost Mississippi State. We bounced back in a big way. We had 2 obviously highlight wins in Clemson and Boston College, and so hopefully now it kind of humbled us again. And it's like, okay, we were here, but because we beat Boston College and beat Clemson, but now we're back here, guys. Like, we got to use this, project off of a little bit here. So, but one thing though too, which I did want to bring up on the positive side was, I know one of the famous walk-on stories that you could, there's a lot of famous walk-on, player stories, including like Baker Mayfield walking on Texas Tech and then ended up going to Oklahoma and win a Heisman Trophy and going to college football playoffs. But would you guys say that Thayer Thomas is one of the great walk-ons? Not necessarily like Baker Mayfield, like Heisman level. But I mean, watching that game yesterday, one thing that just came to mind is like I just kept saying, this guy was a walk-on. Like, holy smokes, this guy is unbelievable. He is just like Mr. Consistent, Mr. I mean, if you need it, he's got you kind of
Yep.
guy. I mean, unbelievable what this guy has been able to do so far. And you know, I just wanted to kind of bring him up because I mean, obviously he had 7 catches yesterday, I think for 72 yards, something like that, and 2
Yeah.
touchdowns. I mean, big day from him yesterday for sure.
Yeah. You want to go back?
Yeah.
You want to answer that, Michael?
Yeah. It's definitely impressive.
Yeah.
He's definitely taken on a bigger role than I think anybody thought he would, and he's, like you said, he's consistent pretty much every game.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Just you got me thinking, like, who are some of the greatest all? Are you talking about NC State history, or are you talking about
Well,
ACC
I mean,
history? Or
definitely NC State, but I mean,
we don't know.
again,
We don't know what
right,
his reputation is
right,
going to be.
right,
But
yeah,
I'm just looking at just out of curiosity. Baker Mayfield was a walk on, apparently.
yep,
J.J. Watt was
Yep.
a walk on.
Yep.
Hunter Renfro. So I think I feel like Thayer Thomas and Hunter Renfro are in that same kind of mold.
yep. I agree.
Yeah.
Clay Matthews, linebacker.
USC, nice.
For kickers, you got Steven Goskowski at Memphis and Rodrigo Blankenship, who's now with the Colts. He's was a walk on at Georgia. So J.J. Watt, Baker
So, yeah, I mean,
Mayfield,
I would
probably
definitely-
the bigger ones.
So yeah, I would put him in
Yeah.
that Renfro. I would comparison for sure. I would agree with you on that. So he,
I mean,
go ahead,
of all
Michael.
time, I was gonna say of all time, it probably got to be Baker, considering he's got a Heisman.
Sure, of
but
course,
yeah.
of course. Yeah, no, but again, I mean, just
But-
it's insane to be able to have somebody like that because Mecca, he again, like for example, yesterday he didn't have his best game, but I feel like they're pretty much most games. I can't really think of many games where they're like I look there going, man, like like where's Thayer? Like why isn't he producing? At the end of the day, he's been able to be a part of most games I could think of. So which is a great thing to have. So especially for a guy like Devin Leary, who by the way too kind of transitioning to Leary. I mean, Leary played a solid game yesterday. I mean, I know
was
people
gonna bring that up too.
may not really think about it, but I mean, he threw 24-42 for 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, which means over the last 5 games, if I'm not mistaken, he's thrown, I think it's 16
14.
touchdowns and no interceptions. It's either 14 or 16 touchdowns and no interceptions. I can't think of that.
He's at 19 touchdowns total on the season right now.
Okay, but like I think starting with the Furman game, there was I can't remember if it was necessarily.
I think last week he was 12 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, or
Okay.
I can't remember what it was, or something like that.
It's
to that
either
effect.
14. It's either 14,
Going into the game last week, I think is what
Right.
it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think he's at 16 now. So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that would
16
make sense.
touchdowns and no interceptions so far in these last 5 games. I mean, just unbelievable for sure. Again, because at the end of the day, if you can have that nucleus of having that solid quarterback play, you can build
Mhm.
off of that. If your quarterback's struggling, it's tough. It's tough
Tough
sliding
to win.
uphill.
I mean, let me highlight this. Yeah, obviously, I know people will remember this. Probably will forget later on down the road, but that dime he threw to Chris Tootle in the back of that end zone, going on like was it the 4th quarter, 3rd quarter?
Yeah, like
That was the best throw he's had all season, in my opinion. I mean, I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, he's got picked up. I was like, he actually caught that, like,
Yeah.
and it was right in the breadbasket.
Yeah.
And then it's a penalty, so it doesn't count. The very next play, he runs it for 20 yards. I mean,
Yeah, that run
for
was
a
awesome.
teammate, if you're a teammate of him, you're just like fired up, like you'll run through a brick wall for that guy. Like he just went through a touchdown. The very next play, he's like, okay, I'm running it in.
I'll run it in. Yeah.
And he doesn't normally run. I would not consider Devin Leary a running quarterback.
No, definitely.
Like he is a quarterback that can run if he needs to, but like that was awesome. And again, I think back to beginning of the season or last season before Devin Leary got injured. I had someone put out, here's player A, here's player B. Here are the stats of player A. Here's stats of player B. Which one is Sam Howell and which one is Devin Leary? And they were the same. And honestly, now I would take Devin Leary now over Sam Howell right now, the way they're playing. I mean, it's just like Sam Howell's really good, but I would still take Devin Leary right now. I think his stats are about the same.
Well, I think that obviously, a lot of that is dependent on, obviously how Sam Howell is being used right now, where he's been more of a dual threat, even though he's not a dual threat. And,
Yeah,
obviously I would definitely say that I think NC State's weapons are better right now than UNC's weapons. But I kind of get what you're saying in terms of that. I mean, it's not, it's definitely a conversation of who would you rather have, Leary or Sam Howell right now. It's definitely a conversation at least. So, used
And
to,
I get Howell's a great quarterback, but
yeah,
I mean,
no
my
doubt.
point is that he's playing about the same right now.
yeah.
Well,
He's
I
playing
mean,
great.
before the season, it was like Sam Howell for Heisman and who's Leary, but now it's like Sam Howell or Devin Leary. Which, I mean, again, hey, to even be in that conversation is a great thing, because again, I mean, I think for NC State, that's something that you were kind of wondering is after Ryan Finley, who's going to be our next guy, and because
Yeah.
definitely not saying that Leary is Ryan Finley, but again, it's tough to compare them. I feel like because again the weapons are different, the offense is different. But I mean, Leary's as consistent. I mean, think about it too that we've had. I know between Russell Wilson, Ryan Finley, and maybe Leary. I mean, if he continues the way he's going, which is, I mean, we've had 3 different quarterbacks that have competed or have competed for that longest streak without an interception, like most pass attempts without an interception. And so again, I mean, not saying that he's close, but I'm just saying that, I mean, he's heading in that direction. I mean, again, to throw 16 passes and no interceptions against
Yeah.
decent defenses at least is
He takes care of the ball.
he takes care of the ball, which is exactly what we need. Can't shoot ourselves in the foot from the quarterback specifically. So, but again, so what would you guys say? Obviously, we talked a little bit about how Thayer had a big day yesterday. Obviously, there's things, well, first of all, one thing I did want to bring up before we kind of wrap up kind of the Miami game, wrap it into a bow and push it to the side. Anthony Smith, I was impressed by him yesterday on his 2 big plays that he had. Obviously, the huge catch, which by the way was a dime of a throw by Devin Leary, but a great catch to really start to build some momentum. But also too that obviously the muffed punt that he got. Just, I mean, and we'll talk a little bit about the rule and all that, and the whatever it may be, but just the effort that he showed there, the competitiveness and the willingness to go after that ball and get that ball, just, I mean, was you love to see that. You love to see that as a State fan. You love to see that as a competitor, as somebody who's been in that position. I love that grit, to go after that ball. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that, obviously I don't think we're going to see much from him this year, but for the future, maybe after Emeka and CJ, and those guys leave, that, maybe Anthony Smith is, going to impress the coaching staff enough to, see him a good bit next season. So I want to kind of get y'all's thoughts on Anthony Smith. Maybe yesterday kind of changed anything for you guys in terms of how you looked at him.
Well, Michael, you saw him firsthand because you were there. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely had some big plays, and he's had the opportunity on a couple other ones. I remember in the Clemson game, Leary just overthrew him a tiny bit, but that was almost another 50, 60-yard touchdown there. But on that punt play specifically, they would not show replays in the stadium at all. They had 4 big screens in every corner, and I think the only time they did show a replay was when Miami scored a touchdown. So I was texting you guys what did that look like on TV, because they just wouldn't show it.
Yeah.
So, And
to me, go ahead. Sorry.
But I mean, like you said, I mean, the Miami guy he tore his helmet off, and then he got up and got right back into play, which is obviously a penalty. But
yeah, I don't know what the right rule for that is, because you can't. I mean, the guy. That's a rare instance where that would happen.
Right? Yeah.
And it's how are you going to penalize the guy for it went right to him? What is he supposed to do? Oh, no, you guys go right ahead. Here's the ball. Go for it. He's not going to do that.
Well, and again, I get the thought process behind the rule, because they don't want guys that don't have helmets to dive into. Guys with helmets. But even the commentator said it, and for those who were listening, probably heard this, basically saying, I mean, if you're an athlete, if you're a competitor, if you're a football player, you're not going to not go for that ball. You're not going to not go for it. So I mean, I get it. It's kind of like one of those things that's like if you were to ask me, would I Do I think that rule should be there? Yes, because at the end of the day, if he takes a football helmet to the head, that's
He's
dangerous for
yeah.
sure. So I get it, but it's kind of like in the moment. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, like you shouldn't have done that, but I love that you did it. I think that's kind of like the way to kind of approach it is like, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. I love that you did it. Kind of like, I think that's what you kind of have to take out of it, kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was just glad to see Devin Leary finally connect with Anthony Smith on one of those deep balls. I was like, it's about time because they have tried that over and over again.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
and then one other player too, which I did think about as well that I wanted to bring up is one of the questions, at least from me heading into this season, was from the tight end side. Obviously, we lost a couple key players like Dylan Ottenreith, and so who's kind of going to take their place? And for what Chris Toole has done this season, and him being a freshman, man, I mean, it's super impressive for sure. I mean, I think that we definitely have our guy for the next couple of years for sure at the tight end position.
you can see they bring him in on red zone packages.
Yeah. Leary loves him.
Yeah. No, again,
I mean, like I notice he's on the field. He's not on the field sometimes. Like they bring in Parham when they're driving down the field. I think in the red zone they bring in Chris a lot of times.
Yeah.
Now Parham had the touchdown, last week. I'm not saying that's always the case, but it's often the case. And so they found their guy. You're right. That question mark is not a question mark anymore.
Nope. Well, especially because you lose a guy like Harry Angeline, who wasn't like necessarily like a stud. Like obviously he didn't get drafted, but I mean he was a playmaker, for sure. So because I think that Chris has done a great job both of being dependable, of being a guy that obviously brings energy to the field, and being a presence on the field. So I mean that's a great thing again for the future, for the rest of the season, and for the next year or two to or a couple years of however long he stays, to have that question answered for sure. So kind of wrapping this game up a little before we kind of move on to Louisville. So what would you guys say are some of the other positives that you kind of took out of this game, to kind of build off of for the rest of the season? So Michael, I'll let you kind of answer first, and Macon, I'll let you follow.
I'd say, I mean, we came out and our offense didn't look great in the first quarter. We had we had negative rushing yards until almost up to halftime. Yeah. But we kept running it, ended the game with over 100 rushing yards. Mm-hmm. So I think we made a decent adjustment there after, the first couple drives, whatever we were doing was not really working. Mm-hmm. Defense, secondary had a tough day. But I think our line and linebackers kind of stepped up there to at least stop the run, because they were getting a lot in the first half as well. And then Isaiah Moore went down. He eventually, came back, but that could have been a big blow.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it could have.
Yeah, I would say, I think that there's a couple of things that are. I think there's the defensive line play. Obviously, I can think of the negatives very quickly. I can think of that stupid jumping offsides call on the field goal by Durden, but he's been great, so I'm not going to hit on that too much. But you've got some depth, some young depth at the defensive line. Like Davin Van has really come on, and Savion Jackson is quietly having a really good season, and I think that's really good to know, because you've had the injury with Clark, and it's not like you had to just count on Durden or Joseph or whoever else. I mean, Conti's back there. He's not a bad player. He's a really good player. And then, like I mentioned, the other guys. So Van in particular, who's really flashing, Jackson, who's not getting any attention, what it seems like, but he's making some good plays. So I think that's a benefit State fans need to look at and acknowledge, that there is some depth there that we're probably not getting enough credit for. I think on the other side of the ball, I think Ricky has really impressed to a degree this season, because everybody thought, it's going to be Zonovan Knight. Like, Ricky's an afterthought now. And he was the better running back. And he has been times, maybe every other game, sometimes the better running back. And it is really good to know when you have a balanced option. Like if Zonovan's just not getting it done, you can just go to Ricky, and it's not like you're dropping off. There's different.
Yeah.
They do different things better than the other, but to me, it's a good to know you have those options there, and you can run the ball. Still get, and I didn't feel like we really ran the ball well. We got 111 yards, I think, something like that on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 40 of those were on the fake punt, so it was
Mm.
Were
technically
they?
71. Yeah, so technically 71.
Well, maybe that's just not correct. I just think it's good to have it's a good thinking when you have those bet balance there. So I know last week in particular, your two best offensive linemen. Do you remember who they said they were? Best graded offensive linemen?
NC State for NC
Mhm.
State? No, but you'd guess Grant Gibson and Icky.
Okay,
I
it
think
was
it was
neither of those
Spees, right?
guys. It was Bryson Spees was number one. That was against Boston College,
And
and then
McMahon.
Derek Eason.
Yeah.
So you've got some depth there that's
Wow.
playing really well offensive line. That was Boston College, not Miami. But Zavala apparently didn't travel with the team, so I think it was Eason who had to step in for Zavala. So you've got some depth there. These guys are really stepping up. I think that's a tribute to the coaching for that. There's more confidence this team still has what it takes. They lost by 1 point. I mean, it wasn't like they got lost by a touchdown. It was 1 point. And a couple plays here and there. If you look at the stat line, it's pretty even. Both teams threw the ball a lot. Both teams did not run the ball well. One team had a fumble but recovered or got the ball back with that. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a bad snap that Van Dyke jumped on, and then it was a even game. I thought Miami seemingly played better at times, then State played better at times, and it was just the plays that would have maybe gone our way against Boston College or our other games didn't go our way this time.
Nope.
But to see the team fight like they did, and that last drive to end the half, going into halftime, was awesome.
Super impressive.
Like, name the last time a team would have just kept fighting and still almost found a way to win like that against a team they probably should have lost to.
Yep.
I mean, they did lose, but it was normally it would have been a bigger loss than that. So I think there's a lot that this team can build on. I think, I personally think they're going to go to Louisville and play Louisville next week and win. And I think, we can get in all that, but I think there's a lot to build off of. It's just, I think the biggest thing is the secondary has got to step up, and they can't have those mistakes like that. And Carter has got to be more consistent.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say real quick on Macon, you said, that it just a lot of the opportunities we took advantage of against Boston College, we didn't this game, and it was almost like the exact, like you say that in the Boston College game, they muffed a punt and we returned it for a touchdown. This one, Miami fumbles the punt. We were about to get the ball on the 6-yard line, but there's the penalty. So it was
that's a momentum killer too, because you're you got it, and then you're sucked the win out of you because you didn't get it.
Yep.
So and they kept fighting. So it was this team has what it takes. Yeah, they lost a game by 1 point. I thought they were going to lose this game, and what kind of leads me to think about and I don't know did you want to shift gears right now, lady? You might want to shift gears a little bit.
Go ahead.
Where do you think this team's going to finish up now? Do you think they go undefeated? Do you think they drop a game or two? We had our predictions early on in the season. I think both me and Leighton had us going 9-3 with different losses.
Yeah.
You think it's still 9-3? What's ahead of us? What do you think we win out? Because right now, to win out would mean a 10-win season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, especially, I think the expectation that we have for the season still is 100% true in the fact that, again, that we, hold on a second. If in game at 14 Alpha, I wanted to bring up his comments. I like his comment. I read it immediately when he came on screen. FYI, just for those who haven't heard, don't be hating on Carter because you don't know. Because he won't listen, first of all. And second of all, he knows what he needs to fix, and he's just going to get it. He's just going to keep getting 1% better. ACT, amen. That's awesome. I love that end game. Appreciate that. But yeah, so I like again looking at the rest of the season. Besides the Wake Forest game, I think you got to feel confident for NC State still. And again, I mean, for any State fans like who thinks that because of yesterday that maybe we're not as good of a team now or whatever it is. No, again, I'm telling you, 100%.
We're still ranked. We're still ranked.
Well,
we were 28. That's right. We're sorry about that.
28. We're 28.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that Miami yesterday played like their life depended on it, because honestly, Manny Diaz's tenure depended on it.
And they had nothing to lose. They had nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. They left it all on the field, and we lost.
They're 2-4. What are they? What? I mean, like,
yeah.
What do they have to lose? They can chuck it on the field every possession if they wanted to.
Yeah. So again, I mean, they were hyped, and I mean, they were wearing their all black. Again, you got Miami at their best yesterday. We played okay, and we lost by 1 point.
Yeah.
So for me, I still say we head into Wake Forest with 2 losses, and it's still for me. Wake Forest is a tough prediction right now. I think that honestly, for me, I can understand that Wake Forest is definitely going to be favored for that game for sure. I can understand that. Their offense is
their defense though,
but
their defense is exposed.
It is no kidding. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But so for me, kind of taking one step at a time, I say we get through these couple games and we head into Wake Forest still with only 2 losses. Michael.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we'll be either 9-3 with another loss to either Wake or maybe Carolina, because it's a rivalry game, or 10-2. So that's pretty much where is it.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm just kind of like, because Florida State's starting to figure themselves out now. And
okay, don't use yesterday against them playing the worst team in FBS.
No, they won. Haven't they won 3 games in a row?
Yeah, kind of. Yes.
So I mean, I'm not saying that. I get that, but like, I'm not saying I look at they just destroyed whoever they play. Who do they even play?
UMass.
No, but I think they've won. They've won 2 or 3 straight, and I think it's through the quarterback. His name is Travis, something like that.
Jordan Travis.
Yeah,
Jordan Travis. They seem to be like rolling with him because they beat UNC. They've beaten Syracuse, and they've beaten UMass. So they have won 3 straight. So that's why I say that. Like, they're starting to figure themselves out. Now, granted, Syracuse isn't great. UMass is definitely not on the same level. And Carolina should be better than they are, but they're not. And which is I love. But they I just think that team makes me nervous a little bit. You got to go on the road again. Is that a night game?
I don't think they've announced it.
No.
Okay, well, hopefully it's not.
Hopefully it's not. At this point, but when it really just comes down to how crazy that us as State fans were going. Okay, maybe it's time to move on from the night games a little bit here.
Well, man, which game did we play this season that wasn't a night game? I can't remember.
Clemson,
3:30.
Yeah, but it rolled into the night, so
yeah.
Well, every game's rolled into the night. Correct, every game.
We haven't had a noon game. That's interesting.
Noon game yet, which is ridiculous, unreal.
Florida State plays at Clemson next week, so that'll be a good test to see if those 3 wins are holding up.
Maybe if we beat Louisville, we'll be ranked again, I believe, because some teams will lose.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you roll into Florida State, and you got an unranked Florida State against. Maybe I'm trying to think what would be the noon game. Maybe that Florida State game's the noon game, but
which I think I think Doran will like that. Honestly, I think
personally, what I think is going to happen.
What's that?
I got a feeling we're going to lose 2 more. I don't know where it is, but I also don't know. Maybe not 2 more, maybe just 1 more. I don't know. I mean, I just kind of got this in my gut. I feel like we're going to lose 2 more. I just don't see the way Florida State is starting to play worries me a little bit. Just although Jordan Travis is their offense, Malik Cunningham is Louisville's offense. Oh Pepperoni, how much I love you. Clemson does need to beat Wake. That will be huge for State.
That would be huge for State.
Syracuse is just sneaky. I mean, I'm not saying that we're gonna lose to them, but they're sneaky, and Carolina is probably the most explosive offense in the ACC. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You just saw what Miami did to us and chuck it down the field. So those kind of things kind of worry me a little bit right now. But in hindsight, you're ultimately what I'm saying is you'd be disappointed because it'd be an 8-4 season that would happen. I don't know it's going to happen, but could I see us losing 2 more games out of what, 6, 5 or 6?
5 games.
I think it's very possible.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me that again, the Wake Forest game will be interesting. But yeah, I definitely agree that Clemson beating Wake would be big. But it still comes down to the fact that again with UNC, it's still Sam Howell to Josh Downs. That is the UNC offense. I think that for me, if you had asked me, because that was the story in game 1 against Virginia Tech. That was the story against Florida State when they Carolina played Florida State. That was the story. And for me, if you were asking me, well, if that's all it is, then why hasn't somebody stopped it yet? Honestly, a part of me would say, well, I mean, Sam Howell is a great quarterback, but also too on top of that, I don't think that they've honestly played a defense good enough yet to be able to scheme around it to lock that down. Because honestly, again, that really is what it comes down to. Is it really takes somebody, 2 guys, shut down Sam Howell, keep him in the pocket, and then shut down Josh Jones, force somebody else to beat you.
Yeah, Emory Simmons. Let Emory Simmons beat you in there, not Josh Downs.
Yeah, well, yeah, just let somebody else. Again, if it happens, we'll take that chance. But again, I mean, literally, I'm sure I don't have stats in front of me, but I'm sure over half. I would bet over half of Sam Howell's completions so far this season have been Josh Downs.
Oh, I bet too. I mean, I told you last. Then we had talked about this a week or two ago. Josh Downs is averaging like 12 receptions a game. That's not including targets. That's receptions.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So he's probably averaging like 15 to 18 targets a game.
Yeah. So
hey, in game 14 alpha, I'm curious. Saw your note. You had Pitt as the best offense. They are the best offense. I thought that Carolina might be the more explosive one, but I'm curious who your other rankings were. You have Pitt at 1 and Carolina at 4. I'm curious who's 2 and 3. So let us know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's interesting who you have 2 or 3, but yeah, so but kind of talking a little bit about Louisville here. So the first thing I want to say is I think with Boston College, you're seeing again that Clemson hangover effect, because again, just like what happened to State back in 2016, we lost to Clemson, then we lost to Florida State, lost to Boston College that we shouldn't have lost. Same thing now you're seeing with Boston College, that they had a tough loss against Clemson. Now they lost against us, and they lost against Louisville. So I don't really necessarily take that Louisville beating them as necessarily, and also too from watching the game back, it was just clear Boston College wasn't. They weren't what they were at the beginning of the season. You could see there was a step off there. So I kind of take, because a lot of people might say, does it say more about one team or does it say more about the other team? I think it says more of just that Boston College what we expected, which is that they're not quite as mature enough of a program yet to be able to bounce back off of a tough loss to put that aside and move forward with the next game. So, but again, I mean,
I'll say this too. I'm looking at the scores of Louisville. Louisville has lost to Virginia by 1 point, and they've lost to Wake Forest by 3 points.
Yeah.
That means they are 2 more wins away. They're decided by 4 or 5 points.
Yeah.
I mean, their defense doesn't necessarily look great because teams are scoring a lot of points on them, except Boston College yesterday. But I mean, Louisville seems similar to Miami. They're just losing close games that they probably should win, and they're not.
Yeah. Well, and like for example, like so, I mean, because kind of honing in the point about Boston College being a little bit sluggish yesterday. So David, again, I can never say his name right. Grossell, whatever it is. But
the quarterback, Grossell.
Yeah, Grossell. Yeah. So I mean, he threw 17 of 32 for 141 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So definitely a not good game yesterday. And then on the other side, Malik Cunningham, he only threw 17 passes, completed 9 of them, threw 107 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. All 4 touchdowns were on the ground, and 3 of them were by Malik Cunningham. And Malik Cunningham had 133 yards rushing. So, I mean, golly,
the whole offense.
They had 331 yards rushing total as a team, which I mean, for NC State, you got to be a little bit happy about that because I feel like as a defense, that's one of our strengths is our run
Yeah,
defense.
definitely.
So I mean, it's and so for me, I feel good about this. Obviously, I think it would be a solid win again. I'm not saying by any means here because again, just like you were saying, Macon, Louisville's been competitive. Malik Cunningham, he's inconsistent, but he is a good quarterback. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
to me, he is their whole offense. You take Malik Cunningham out, you take I'll say Jordan Travis out of Florida State. That's their whole offense. You take Josh Downs out of Carolina. That's most of their offense. I know they like run the ball with Ty Chandler a little bit, but yeah.
So go ahead, Michael.
I was gonna say, like you were saying, I mean, Louisville likes to run the ball. Malik Cunningham likes to run the ball, and that's at least something to be hopeful about. Is that's been our best defensive aspect the whole season. I think it's like we're only averaging giving up 90, 95 yards a game.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and again, especially because I do truly expect. I fully expect. I'm not hoping it. I'm expecting a bounce back game from this defense on Saturday night. So fully expecting it. I'm expecting a pissed off defense for sure. I mean,
31 points. That's the most we've given up this season, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
it is. So again, I'm that's my expectation, especially now knowing that well, not knowing, but it seems like from everything that it looked like and everything that I've been reading, it doesn't seem like there was anything serious with Isaiah Moore's injury, which is great.
Yeah.
So to have him back and have him and Drake again, I do fully expect us to get back to right where we left off. But anyway, but wanted to kind of also to touch base here a little bit as well on another game in the ACC because for me, I was watching it with not necessarily excitement, but just like it was a big game for both teams, and that's the Syracuse Virginia Tech game. I really had to because honestly, I mean, I truly do think that basically whoever, well, let me say this: if Virginia Tech had lost, which they did lose at home to Syracuse, man,
the way they lost
too. Yeah, no kidding. It was just like for me. I mean, it was nice having you in the ACC, Justin Fuente. I mean,
yeah, I think that was the nail in the coffin. I mean, my wife's a Hokie. Follow them. I got some friends who live in a lot of friends live in Blacksburg right now.
Yeah,
and they just kind of like they're indifferent about him. They're like, man.
Especially now,
they're just kind of like, I don't know. Like I've heard that for like 2 or 3 years. One guy's like, he actually has seen Fuente around, just in personal life. He's like, he just seems like he's just disconnected. Like he's just not there.
Yeah.
Like he just kind of like maybe it's his personality, but it sounds like he's just kind of like,
yeah.
Like not like he's all in to be there kind of thing. That's the vibe they get. So maybe maybe it's personality, but I think that was it for him. I think him losing to Syracuse like that. I think the coaching search has started on Virginia. Yeah, I think the coaching search has started at Virginia Tech. Whether they announce it or not, I think that started it.
Yeah, I literally texted one of my best friends who's a Virginia Tech fan. That exact thing that you just said, Macon. I said, was that the nail in the coffin for Fuente? And he said, I really, really hope so.
Yeah, I think it was. I think to me, like I was trying to think who they go hire. I could see somebody I know that probably guys probably could go get. This guy could probably go get will get a bigger job, but somebody that they should target is that at least go out for him the job is that Cincinnati coach. I mean, or like there's a coach who coaches at is it Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns, Louisiana. That coach is doing pretty well.
But you feel like because I mean, especially since they both had big seasons last season, that they probably got a lot of calls last season as well. But now, I mean, I know Virginia Tech is definitely one of those, potential, job like dream jobs. So maybe that could possibly be a job that the Cincinnati coach or Louisiana Lafayette coach might consider. But I mean, one thing though, which I thought was hilarious looking at the stats is, I mean, Virginia Tech literally made Schrader, Garrett Schrader of Syracuse, their quarterback, looked like a Heisman winner yesterday. I mean, he had 236 yards passing for for 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he had 174 yards rushing, 3 rushing touchdowns. He literally had 5 touchdowns, over 400
Pretty bad.
yards, but just from him and no interceptions. Holy
Yeah.
smokes! Like if Spencer Rattler or some
Wait,
big name
who? Spencer Rattler? Who?
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
Yeah. So like if like a guy who was or is whatever it is in the Heisman Trophy running, and they had those stats, like they would be the front runner for Heisman. Let's put it that way. But
Yeah,
so I thought that was hilarious looking back at the stats.
I think Jamie Chadwell at Coastal Carolina might be.
That's the other guy I was thinking. I was getting ready to say that. Yeah. He'd be a guy I would look at too.
Yep.
Mhm.
But once again though, and I know I can't remember who it was. Somebody was saying it, but
Heck, what Dave Clawson?
That's
Go
exactly what I
hire
was about to
him.
say.
Go hire Virginia Tech. Go hire Wake Forest's coach.
That
would be a step up for him. He's in the same conference. You recruit the same places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was about to say is that we are 100% on the higher Dave Clawson train again. Because again, I'm a fan of Dave Clawson. I am a fan. I know.
Oh, I would be scared. Imagine him at Virginia Tech. I don't know what Dave Clawson's personal life is like. I don't know if he fits into the Virginia Tech vibe.
Yeah.
But I mean, go hire the guy. He builds. If you need to build back your program, he's known to do it. So go do it.
Yeah. So again, I mean, Wake Forest. Let's just put it this way: Wake Forest is just. I feel. I honestly, It bugs me that Wake Forest doesn't have pretty much any alumni. They don't have any current. Again, they only have 8,500 current students at any one time.
Yeah.
And yet they are living a dream season right now. They're living a dream season.
And they barely show up at all. Like I've seen their own reporters being like, this crowd at these games is ridiculous. Like you get one of the best teams you ever had, and none of you guys are showing up.
They're the smallest Power 5 school, so it's like they just don't have a big alumni base, and to get those fans in there.
Like I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, they've actually done commercials for ticket sales for football games. It's like, okay, if NC State was 7-0 and was 16th in the country, probably going to be close to the top 10. You wouldn't have to worry about ticket sales.
No.
You would not have to worry about ticket sales.
No.
In fact, you would have to worry about bringing in more bleachers to sell more tickets for ticket sales. And holy smokes.
On that vein, did you see the Kansas-Oklahoma game yesterday at halftime? The Kansas sent out an email to all the students saying, if you haven't used your ticket, come in. We're beating the number 2 team at halftime. And then in the third quarter, they put out like another announcement just to anybody. Said you don't have to buy a ticket, just come on in. We're beating the number 2 team. Yeah.
That's and in game 14 alpha. Yes, I mean, we definitely don't have to worry about ticket sales right now. But I'm just saying that, I mean, I just couldn't even imagine, but again, we're close. That's the thing though, is again, I mean, there's no doubt with this program, we are heading in the right direction. That is one thing that's perfectly clear. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. No, I know we're getting close on time.
Yeah.
If we're done, I wanted to still kind of go back to this. Again, we're halfway through the season now.
Yep.
What do you think our final record is going to be? You've seen half the games.
Just in the 12 games, not including if we made it to ACC championship.
Yeah, I mean, let's just because your answer to the first question will then determine, okay, you're probably going to make it to this or that.
Yeah.
I'd say 9-3, and I think we'd lose either to Wake or UNC.
You said 9-3. We have one more loss. We win 5 more games.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we could still make the ACC championship at 9-3.
Oh yeah, the other teams have to lose. But is that a disappointment to you, or is that like good, or what is that?
I think it depends on if 9-3 gets us in the ACC championship.
So you would be disappointed. Would you consider a disappointing season if you go 9-3 and don't make the championship game, but you get a really good bowl game? I mean, I would be disappointed not making the championship game.
Yes.
I think everybody would.
Yes.
But it's kind of like, well, I would be genuinely disappointed if I knew that like for instance, we were going to beat Wake Forest. and we actually get the title, and then we just choke against Syracuse and or North Carolina, then I would be disappointed. I would say it's a disappointing season.
Oh, I'd be a very.
But if Wake Forest is truly as good as their record is saying they are, like they're 13th in the country right now, I think.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
If they finish, they're 13th right now, which makes absolutely no sense. They played nobody hardly. So, and we were 18th and we suddenly dropped the 10 spots.
And, yeah,
that doesn't make sense to me either. But that's just I would thought we were going to be. I thought we were going to be like 25. But how if they were truly the number one team in the Atlantic, I'm not going to be disappointed that we just couldn't. We just couldn't. They were just better than us this year. Like we all know, Dave Clawson's a good coach. They were ahead of us. They did their job, and we just didn't. And yeah, I'd be like, okay, we got the win against Clemson. We're 9-3. We're going to a nice bowl game. Yeah, I'm bummed we didn't make the championship game, but kudos Wake Forest. If we had beat Wake Forest and we can't do it, then I'd be like, you got to be kidding me.
No,
but yeah,
I'm livid. But
what do you think? What's your thing, Leighton? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it really comes down to that. I mean, and somebody said it, earlier, is that, and I know we've kind of said it, even like about the Clemson game, but about the season overall in general, which is that if Doran can't get it done this season, when can he get it done? Now, the one thing which I will say, kind of to that comment, is I think it's a difference between looking at it on a game perspective and looking at it on a season perspective. I think that for the Clemson game, I get it because Clemson more likely is not going to be this bad again for a while, but also to being at home and all that jazz, so I get it that that for the Clemson game that we needed to win that Clemson game, but from the season overall, I wouldn't necessarily say that if Doran can't win the ACC championship this season that he's not ever going to win the ACC championship. I wouldn't say that necessarily, just because again, that there's a lot more variables that go into that. A lot more variables.
That's a lot of pressure. You're basically saying you have one shot and you better win, or else.
And you're out.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Like, you mean like really? The guy goes 9-3, and we're saying it's a disappointing season. Like, I get the opportunities there, and if Wake Forest is just better, that's one thing. That's to me, that's the trigger. If they just Wake Forest does their job, okay, I'm gonna get mad at them because Wake Forest happened to be better. We all know Dave Clawson's really good, and it's a historically good Wake Forest team. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that's. I think it's like again, like you better win this one or else you suck. Like that's not true. Come on.
Well, especially too, like what if we go 9-3, so we lose to Wake, but we win against Carolina, and you go to a bowl game and you win and you get your second 10-win season in NC State history. I mean, would you really not be on Doran for the long term?
No, I think
season of all time. Go ahead.
I wouldn't be. Yeah, it wouldn't be a disappointing season, but I would still be disappointed we didn't make it to the ACC championship. Overall,
I'm in agreement.
9-3, 10-win season. I mean, you're not. I'm not going to.
You would really see NC State fans' character, in my opinion. You would see like who really has their character straight and who doesn't, because he'd be like, okay, guys, like,
come on.
People were like chewing out Devin Carter. I don't know my last comment. I know we were getting close on time, but chewing out Devin Carter for drop pass. Yeah, he needs to make those passes. He needs to make the completion. He is not the reason we lost the game.
No,
he is not the reason we lost the game. And all these people out there, kind of like with Bambar a few seasons ago when he missed a kick to Clemson. It's a football game. It is not life or death. Like, if you think that's it, and you need to check what you're living for, basically, because that is, it's not worth it. Like, really, like he missed a kick, okay, or he dropped a catch or two. Like he made the biggest catch probably in NC State's history in the last 10 years against Clemson, and now you're going to light him up for dropping one catch against Miami. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
So
and to answer your quick question, I have confidence. I say we beat Wake Forest. We go 10-2. We go to the ACC championship game against.
Okay. So you think we go undefeated the rest of the way?
I do. I have confidence. I feel like I think that this is a picture that's getting painted that we're going to look back on eventually. As we're preparing to play Pitt in the ACC championship game, but we're going to say, how beautiful is that? You know what I mean? How beautiful is that led us to here? So, but again, what a great ACC championship game that would be. State versus Pitt, by the way. I just want to mention that. But again,
man, I feel like after seeing this week, our secondary still clearly needs some work.
They do. We'll see,
and we'll see. But I think they're going to lose one more, at the least. I'm not saying they're going to be flawed. I find it hard for me to say they're going to be flawless the rest of the way, but
Yeah.
I would love it. And I think for Leighton to say that's great. I think 9-3 is maybe what's going to happen. It's assuming we're all healthy, but some of my gut's telling me we're going to go 8-4. I don't know why. I just feel like that. So
called being an NC State fan. That's what it is.
Yeah,
that's right.
But in the past, 7-5 was the goal. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, 7-5 was the goal, and now we're like, 9-3 is a disappointing season. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And Dave Doran stinks. Yeah, give me a break.
No, yeah, get out of here with that. So awesome. Well, thank you all again so much for tuning in. Again, really appreciate it. I think this was definitely a fun conversation. Looking forward to this game coming up this weekend against Louisville. Back in the car Sunday night, 7:30 again. So make sure to tune in. And again, make sure if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that free subscribe button. It really helps support us in the channel. And appreciate all the support as well as we finally hit the 400 subscribers mark, which is awesome for sure. For only been doing this for 10 months, give or take. That's awesome. So we are greatly thankful for all the support so far, and definitely are excited for the, exciting days to come, where we're continuing to grow and come up with more exciting content and more great NC State conversations as we go. So thank you all so much again. Please make sure to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter and Instagram. Give this video a like. And again, looking forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you all so much. As always, go Pack, y'all.